Hey there guys, and welcome back to Alex Invest. For those of you who don't know, I'm Alex. I'm a business owner with a degree in economics, and today the markets are once again very green, as we can see, and stocks that are right up there with it are those hydrogen industry stocks that I talk about on this channel quite a lot, and that I do have a lot of investments in here. And you know, this is all really on this news about Plug Power that came out, where SK Group, which is essentially a South Korean conglomerate company, has decided to give a strategic investment of $1.5 billion to Plug Power to enable sort of advancements in the Asian market for hydrogen. Now, there's some big stuff planned here, which I will get into, but this news has essentially brought up all the hydrogen stocks in this industry, not just Plug Power. So we're going to go through a few of those today. We're also going to get a little bit deeper into this strategic investment, obviously, from SK Group. We're also just going to look at where I see these companies going and whether it's still a good time to invest. I've actually been in Plug Power since $9.9 a share, and I've been in Fuel Cell since about that $1.8 a share mark. Of course, I've been picking up shares along the way. These really have been two of my favorite picks for basically the last 6 to 8 months here. And, you know, I do still see big growth moving forward in these, even though the prices are pretty inflated right now. All right, so let's get into this deal between Plug Power and SK Group first here. Essentially, like I've already mentioned, $1.5 billion strategic investment, right? And for that, Plug is giving a 10% stake in their company to SK Group, right? And this would value their shares about $29.29 here, but the current price right now is about $53 a share. So very high, and basically since this announcement, we've just seen the share price rocket up. You know, I believe we did about 27 or 30% yesterday, and then another sort of 13% already this morning, right? So crazy stuff. And you know, really the goal of this partnership is to sort of advance the hydrogen energy space in Asia here, and I think that is a very good investment as well for them. So why is this deal so big, right? Well, first of all, now Plug obviously has a lot of money to make these investments in their hydrogen technology and sort of advance, but the really big part is that they now have access to the hydrogen economy roadmap through 2040, which is essentially this roadmap and guidelines that are set out of what South Korea wants to do here for the hydrogen economy and the advancements they want to make there. And part of this is putting 6 million hydrogen fuel cell cars on the street by 2040. It's also building 1,200 fueling stations and building infrastructure to fuel these fueling stations as well, right? And also to produce 5 million tons of hydrogen fuel per year here, right? So those are three of the big ones there. And Plug is not only a maker of fuel cells, but also a producer of hydrogen. So they will definitely benefit from those two, but they are even looking to get into those fuel cell EVs here. So that could be a whole nother section they could be part of here for this roadmap that South Korea has set out, right? So those are going to be very interesting, but there's a few more details that I wanted to get into about this roadmap. All right, guys, so of course I found the roadmap, and here we are looking at the first thing, which is hydrogen demand expectations for Korea by 2050, and that is 17 million tons of hydrogen demand by 2050. Currently, we're at 2.9 million tons of hydrogen demand in 2020, right? And we're just seeing this number here exponentially grow up until 2050, right? And so really, when you look at Plug and you look at Fuel Cell and these other hydrogen companies, we're still at the beginning of it all here, and we're just going to see this whole industry grow a lot in the next 30 years here, right? And we can really see that first of all by this here. Here we are at the next thing, right? This one I think is very interesting because essentially this makes sense, right? That adoption of the hydrogen generation is obviously going to be more cost effective as we move forward and as we sort of increase R&D, but mostly just build infrastructure and gain knowledge as well as optimize and sort of scale production, right? The bigger the scale of all this is, the more cost effective and the more cost efficient we're going to be here. And we can see that the plants are getting more cost effective, but also the efficiency of power, right, is getting more efficient. So sort of as we move forward here, we're going to see this hydrogen industry take off even more than we already are, just because it's going to be so much more worth it to use this hydrogen, right? For fueling and for sort of your energy needs. Because again, and I've mentioned this before, right? As oil prices increase, hydrogen also increases, right? Because it's an alternative fuel source to gas. So the cheaper that hydrogen gets, the more willing people are going to be to adopt this technology, because it now makes more sense economically to use this technology, not only environmentally, right? Which I think is a barrier for a lot of people to adopt this technology, because they're still having better efficiency cost-wise and for economic reasons when they use sort of gas or other power generation, right? But as we become so much more efficient here, we're just going to see this adoption of this technology grow so much. And that's another reason why we're really still at the early stages of where this technology is actually going to go here. You know, for cost effectiveness here, we can look at this chart too. It's a good one, and it just shows sort of the price here going down per kilogram. So we can see by 2040, it's going to be down at $2.59 per kilogram, right? And so we can just again see we're going to get more cost effective. And as we do that, this technology becomes more attractive. And as it does, it becomes a bigger part of the entire pie of sort of the energy production that we have in the world, right? And this is another one that I thought was very interesting here, right? We can see if we compare diesel, battery, and hydrogen for how much sort of these vehicles would weigh afterwards, we can see that hydrogen is actually the most efficient in this sense, meaning that you're basically carrying around less for these huge loads, right? So when we get to these bigger sort of class 8 vehicles here and stuff, when that are running on hydrogen, we're going to see again increased efficiency, because as these bigger vehicles weigh less, you're using less fuel to drive them around, and ultimately that's going to lead to an increase in efficiency and also economically, right? Because it's going to be more cost effective here again. And now this is where we see that everybody gets a bit of the pie here, right? Because they say Korean hydrogen demand by 2050 exceeds domestically producible hydrogen. That means they're going to have to go outside of Korea in order to have some of the hydrogen that they need in order to fuel sort of this growth in the industry. So with that, it's not only going to be Korea obviously benefiting from this technology, and obviously that's true because we're already seeing obviously the Plug Power deal, right? But also, there's going to be plenty of other sort of deals coming out here. What's also interesting to note on this slide here is they say electrolysis on solar power is expected to become cheaper than SMR, right? And again, here we are at the slide for the vehicles, right? These fuel cell vehicles. And again, we can see in 2020, we're only at 0.01 million vehicles. And so that's only 10,000 vehicles right here. Now compare that to 2050, where they want over 8 million vehicles to be fuel cell EVs here. And look at the percentage of each of these vehicles that they're planning on making, right? Small cars is a very small percentage here, because those are actually much better for electric vehicles, right? But look at the larger cars. That's a big percentage of that market there, right? Is going to be cost effective as well, with sort of the decreased weight there. And again, we see similar thing for vans, right? A big percentage of that is going to be vans. You know, by 2050, LCVs, buses, and trucks not making up a big percentage of that, right? But I think that sort of section there is going to grow a lot past 2050 as well, you know, as we really start to realize sort of the economic benefits and the environmental benefits of this technology, and sort of as this technology grows as well. So the market here, a lot is going to start off with passenger vehicles, but I think it's going to move into much more than that. And I just wanted to show you guys these two in comparison here, because already in 2030 we're going to see a 15% reduction in CO2 emissions, right? And by 2050 2050, we're going to see a 40% reduction there, right? And we can see sort of the different industries that they're going to be working in here. But the main thing is that there's already going to be a 15% reduction in emissions then. And we don't even know if this is at the full potential of this hydrogen industry yet. If we do greater efficiency here, we're going to see these numbers go up as well, right? And I could see this happening as we sort of invest more R&D here, as there's more investments otherwise coming into these sort of stocks and positions, right? So, and those are really the main things I wanted to show you guys there. Now, what's crazy about those numbers, right? That is just Korea. That's just Korea's hydrogen plan by 2050. That's it. So we still have Europe. We still have the rest of Asia. We still have all of North America, and the US is actually going to be a big market. Plug Power is listed as a essential business in the US because 30% of the food that's sort of handled to grocery stores, restaurants, etc., right? They are handled by Plug Power forklifts and other material handling technology here. And that's a big number already. And nobody else is in this space really other than Plug Power. So that industry specifically is just going to grow. And basically the whole market share for these hydrogen forklifts is Plug Power specifically. And a large portion of the forklift market in general, I think, is going to move there to this hydrogen technology as well. So that number is also just going to keep growing in the US, along with sort of that hydrogen infrastructure, which we will continue to see growing here in all parts of the world. South America, Africa, these are Australia. They're all places that we haven't even looked at or covered yet. The other sort of Asian markets as well are going to be massive. China is going to be huge market for this technology. They've already said that they want 20% of new vehicle sales to be electric vehicles, or not even just electric, but clean energy vehicles, right? And that includes those fuel cell EVs. And, they're going to grow their infrastructure massively there too. And I've said this before, but China right now is the leader in this sort of clean, renewable energy technology. And I can continue to see them being the leader. Of course, for hydrogen specifically, it may end up being Korea as well as a very big one here. And the thing about Korea is, and I've been to Korea, right? And they are so advanced there. In South Korea, the sort of the technology that they have and the infrastructure they have is crazy. The last time I was at their airport, they had a robot which would talk to you and move around and interact with you. And no other airport in the world has something like that, and just their transportation systems over there are so much more advanced than what you'll ever see in North America or anywhere really in the world. But now we've gone a little bit away from Plug Power here, and towards sort of where the hydrogen industry in general is going. But, Plug Power is going to be a big part of this hydrogen plan that Korea does have set up here. And, the stock price right now looks very high. Obviously, we're at $53, but, it's always going to seem like that. Back when I was first investing in Plug at that $9.9 range, right, I thought this is maybe a little bit of a high price for the stock, and it wasn't. And again, I see the same thing. We're at $53, right? Yes, it's high, but again, do I see it higher in 5 years from now? The answer is, of course I do. So it's still a good investment right now with the 10% stake and the $29.29 that sort of the price is worth from that 10% stake that SK Group is getting. I think we might see a bit of a pullback in the stock and sort of in this hydrogen energy space in general and all these stocks, because they have had and are currently having this huge run up. So, I'm not necessarily picking up more shares right now, but on a dip, I will definitely be picking up more shares in this company. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for the video today. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment as always. And other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys on Sunday.